Hi, I'm Lena, and I'm an educator. I've worked and taught in both K-12 and higher education. I currently work at a public university in California in outreach and admissions, which is why I want to talk to you about the A word. Particularly, Prop 16 is on the ballot here in California. Voting yes on Prop 16 would overturn the current ban in place that exists for any state employer or educational system to consider the factors of ethnicity and gender in the process. What I'm going to talk to you today is what affirmative action is, what it isn't, and this is just part one, so stay tuned. So first, here's the definition. You can read it. Bear with me. I love my whiteboard. I'm a teacher who hasn't taught in almost a year now. I like doing this kind of thing. So we have the definition here for affirmative action. It is to help women and minority groups be better represented in spaces where they have been historically excluded. By history, I don't mean like 200 years ago. I mean within my parents' lifetime. It was only in the 60s that we had the federal mandate to desegregate schools, not that long ago. And so someone of my parents' generation, actually not even all that much older than them, has seen firsthand where people of a certain color, race, ethnicity, or sex have not been legally allowed to work in or study in certain spaces. That's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's not our parents' fault, unless, well, probably, hopefully not your parents' fault. It's just how it is, right? And so because of something that impacted just one generation removed from us, it's still to this day affecting all of us. So affirmative action is a way to, in a way, help rectify that. What it is not, let's start with that. It's not a quota system. So quota system being, I need to I'm gonna admit 100 students to my med school. 10 have to be Black, regardless, they need to be Black. That's a quota system, and that is unconstitutional. So since 1978, that has been literally illegal and unconstitutional, because a candidate to a med school who was not in that quota had been denied 2 times, sued, went up to the Supreme Court, they found it unconstitutional. So any quota system is illegal. Unfortunately, people still conflate quota system with affirmative action. Not a thing, not allowed. Secondly, it does not lower the rigor or criteria or standards for the job or the school. So what it is not is, well, we need more Black students or Native American students. Let's get them in even if they're not qualified. That's not the case. And it's a lot more nuanced than that. It's not a black or white issue. So what it is using ethnicity and gender as one of the many criteria to evaluate a candidate or student. So here we've got all the criterias we could use to evaluate someone, right? It could be gender, it could be race, your education, right? Or your degree. Now, if you're applying to colleges, of course, your GPA or test scores. We're gonna look at your essays, recommendations. I don't know, tons of other qualities. It's just one of many. It's not the only. What it doesn't do is just say, no, we're looking at this, the rest of it doesn't matter. That's not how it is. What it also does is, obviously it's trying to rectify the injustices that have happened and continue to happen that make our playing field less like, this as we see it, and more like this, depending on who you are and where you are in this country. Benefits of affirmative action. It counters, like I said, the societal discrimination. Societal discrimination is also historical, right? So that's both things that have actually been illegal. So it was illegal for women, for example, to do certain things, like, I don't know, even vote 100 years ago, at least white women. It's also practices, right? Because yes, it's illegal to discriminate against someone because of their race or gender. Does it still happen? Absolutely. There was an article recently about a Black, or actually a biracial family who was trying to sell their home. They got it appraised. It was appraised really low. The mom was Black, the son was obviously biracial. They took everything out of their home that would suggest any blackness, as far as, and I listened to the interview, like Toni Morrison books off the shelf, poster of Barack Obama off, all family photos, and their house appraised for, I believe, $100,000 more. That's not something that is an anomaly in this country. So when we say rectify societal and historical injustices, things that are happening today. Other benefits of affirmative action: it increases diversity in certain sectors or fields. I'm sure, think of off the top of your head, what is a female-dominated field? Nursing, teaching, right? Okay, think of male-dominated fields. What comes to mind? Engineering, right? A lot more, but we'll go with engineering. Okay, now let's go with fields that are underrepresented by certain races and ethnicities. Honestly, most of them. Several of them, especially when you're working with individuals. You're a doctor, you're a mental health practitioner, you're a teacher. The makeup of our country is not equally represented in those people who hold those positions. The teaching profession is about 80% white, if not more. Is our country 80% white? No. And so what happens is students, patients, etc., who don't see themselves in those positions, A, are less likely to want to become them. They don't think it's possible. They have no role models. B, are less likely to have strong outcomes based on whatever that transaction is. So students who are Black do better when their teacher is Black. Health disparities are huge. There's actually tons of studies that say there is a positive correlation between patients who have doctors of their same background. Like, that's people's lives we're talking about. So it's not just a matter of preference, it's truly a matter of human needs. Lastly, and this is what I'll leave you all with, is diversifying any group. So whether that's a workforce, a cohort of students at a school, your law class, diversifying that has better outcomes. I'm not just talking about experience, right? First of all, it'd be boring if every single person in my workplace looked like me. You may not think it would be boring if everyone looked like you. I think it'd be kind of boring. But beyond that, there's actual quantitative outcomes as benefits. There have been several studies, and I'll reference a Hidden Brain episode, so it's a podcast through NPR, called Creativity and Diversity, How Exposure to Different People Affects Our Thinking. And they focus on a couple key studies that have been done, one through Harvard, that showed scientific research articles, and they surveyed, I believe, 2 million, and they looked at the authors, their geographic location, and their ethnicity. The more diverse that batch of authors and primary investigators were on the study, the better, more reliable outcomes there was for the study, and the more the study was then, I can't think of the right word, but it was referred to and referenced by other studies, which helps make something seem as like a high esteemed study, valid and reliable. So there's scientific data to back the benefits of diversifying, in every sense of the word, our groups of people. Lastly, we're all these things, right? I am my gender, I am my ethnicity, I am my education, I am all of those things. When I go into society, I'm treated as such, right? I'm treated as a female, I'm treated as white, I'm not treated as Middle Eastern because I don't look it, even though I am. When you are a Black male, for instance, you go into society, you're seen and treated as a Black male based off of our own biases and how we believe Black males to be. So if you're applying to a job or a school as a Black male and we can't know those two things about you, that's a huge portion of your identity and the full picture we're missing. So I'll leave you with this. Thank you for listening to part 1 of what affirmative action is and why you should vote yes on Prop 16.